Today's scripture reading will be taken from Isaiah 40, verse 28 through 31. Isaiah 40, 28 through 31. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint.
They are two of my favorite creatures. It's hard to pick. You know my preference probably for snakes, just a little bit. But it gets me to thinking, if they were to face off in battle against one another, two fearsome foes, which one would come out victorious, the snake or the eagle? Well, I would say in large part it would depend on where the battle was fought. You see, on the ground, you might be able to make the case that the snake would have the advantage, but when eagles and snakes fight one another, that's not usually the way the fight goes. You see, the eagle will swoop down and it will surround the snake with its murderous talons. It'll pick up that creature and it'll spread its wings and it will take it up to the sky. And then the eagle will drop the snake from the sky. It renders it powerless in the sky. It changes the battlefield. It drops it and the snake falls either to its death or to an injury, and the eagle will swoop back in and pick up the snake and take it back up in the sky again and drop it and swoop back down and pick it up and drop it again until the snake is dead. It's critically injured, or it's so stymied it doesn't know what in the world's going on. And then comes the fun part, Freddie. The eagle gets to dig into the gooey, stringy meat of the rattlesnake or whatever the serpent is and devour that yummy raw snake. That's the way a battle between an eagle and a snake typically goes. And a snake has virtually no chance against an eagle. I find it fascinating in this very familiar passage of Scripture, Isaiah chapter 40, of all the animals that God could choose, he says, I look down on my people, and he tells us, I see them as eagles, as those who can be empowered by me to lift their wings and to go up into the sky. And I find that particularly fascinating when he also uses an animal to describe the type of opponent it is that we are facing. God doesn't expect us to fight this battle with this creature against whom we go on the ground. I want to spend the first part of our study reading a little bit more about the opponent that we face. Let's start in the 20th chapter of Revelation and just take a little piece of verse number 2. There Satan is compared to a couple of animals. We're told that he's a dragon, and we recently covered that, so we won't get into all of that today. I want to get into the other one. Revelation 20, verse 2. He's referred to as that serpent of old, who is the devil and Satan. These names that are used for him are descriptive about the relationship, or lack thereof, really, that he has or should have with us. Devil comes from diabolos, which means a slanderer, someone who talks terribly about you. Not exactly friend material. And the complete opposite is the meaning of Satan, from the Greek satanos, which means opponent or adversary, your enemy. He is not your friend. And God says, if I were to pick an animal talking to you here, I would say, let's bring this full circle. I introduced him to you as a serpent. And I'm going to close the account telling you he is a snake. Why is Satan called a snake? Now, God has made all of his creatures to be pretty unique and to be able to adapt and blend into their environment. The chameleon's probably the coolest, or a jellyfish that's able to do that, and just to really blend in. But snakes are excellent at this. We know this from our surroundings. If you look top left, a copperhead. It's built to live in the woods in the Missouri Ozarks and other wooded areas like them. And you go walking through the leaf floor of the woods, and it's difficult to be able to pick out where a copperhead is. How would you like to go play in the trees with the green viper in Asia, say Thailand, China, Cambodia, and the like, Laos? That'd be a lot of fun, wouldn't it? Or would you like to trounce through the bush in Africa and step across a gaboon viper? Hopefully not on one. Some of the largest fangs in the world, and some of those toxic venom. Causes blood. A lot of those, the vipers especially, and the green ones will cause hemorrhaging. You start bleeding out of every place of your body, your nose, your ears, everywhere, your eyes, and you just bleed to death on the inside. The gaboon viper is a little bit different. He's a coagulator of blood, which turns your blood to like jelly, and it can't circulate through your body. Let's bring it a little closer to home, though. What about the sidewinder rattlesnake in southwestern America? Oh, you might see these marks in the sand, but you can't find what it is, Fawn, that's created them. And so you go just walking, following these marks until you hear, and then you might be done for. All you might see is just a head that blends in perfectly with that sand. It's waiting for its prey to come by unsuspectingly. Snakes blend into every environment. You don't even realize a lot of times they're there. Does it make sense why God would call Satan a snake? It's difficult to pick out when and where he is. You don't even realize he's there until a lot of times it's too late. You would never expect to find him in your school classroom or in your office at work. You certainly wouldn't expect to find him in your home. You wouldn't think to see his face among your group of friends or your parents or parents with your kids. Oh, he's a master of blending in. He's an expert in disguises. And this guy really seems to travel, this snake. Job chapter 1, verses 6 and 7. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, "From where do you come?" So Satan answered the Lord and said, "Oh, from going to and fro on the earth, and from walking back and forth on it," which is a really creative way of saying everywhere. I've been everywhere. And he probably had a smile on his face, recognizing most people never even knew when he was there because of how well he blends in. You just never know where you're going to encounter a dangerous serpent. When I was a kid, my dad told us of how I was young when this happened, but he came into the house and he told us that he had gone into our barn, which is only about 50 yards from our house. Looks a lot like this old barn right here. And he stepped into it. It was getting dusky outside in the evening. He flipped on a light and went in and got whatever it was he was needing. And he turned around. It was probably less than 30 seconds, he said. Turned around. He's about to step back over, and there's this little ledge of a drop-off. He said, an incredibly long copperhead, which is perfectly sprawled out across the entry of that door. And he stopped and took care of the copperhead. Don't tell the conservation agents. And he told us constantly, he said, "I know there is no way that there was enough time that snake would have quickly slithered over and just stopped itself right across that doorway. I know I stepped right across that going in, and I never saw it. And I almost stepped out the same way that I came in." You don't expect to see a snake, and you let your guard down for just a little bit, and you've encountered one before you even realize it, on land as well as on water. I don't know how many hundreds of snakes, maybe thousands by this point, that I've seen on the waterways, but there's one encounter that is one that stands out in my mind. My brother and I, we went on Spring River in Arkansas, not the dirty Oklahoma one. Beautiful, fresh Spring River. Anybody floated that stream before? Ooh, that's a good one. That's a pretty place. So there are these big pools of water like there are in any stream, fed by one of the largest springs in the world, aptly named Mammoth. So we're on this and we're noticing there's some snakes every now and then in this cold water. But I got my lure hung up on a root wad, and we went over to get that off. And my brother and I were both looking at this snake that's just coiled up all comfortably warm on this root wad. And we were perplexed because we'd seen every kind of water snake there is to see. This one was different. We knew that's a copperhead. There's a copperhead that's on there. You wouldn't think that a land snake would be living like a semi-aquatic snake on top of a root wad. We talked to people with more experience. This is years and years ago. They said, "Oh yeah, you'll see some copperheads every now and then on the water. Encountered a guy, wasn't in Missouri, but who said he'd actually seen a rattlesnake on the waterways before. It's possible. You never know. If it's land or if it's water, you might run into one. You'll see them in the country for sure. You'll see them in town also. The house where we lived for 8 years, I don't think there was a single year that went by that we didn't see multiple snakes right there in town. You wouldn't think that to be the case, but that's just kind of the way it goes. You certainly wouldn't expect to experience one inside of your house. I was watching this show on Animal Planet, infested houses that were full of pests that people didn't want. And these people, as soon as they bought and moved into this house, and it may have been in winter, as soon as spring, warms up a little bit, as soon as spring comes around the corner, they start seeing more snakes in their yard. And it gets to where they're seeing like one pass in their yard, 9, 10 snakes when they go outside and come back in. Now, thankfully, they're like gardener snakes, and they're not harmful. And they end up getting some of these in their house, and they're like, what is going on? So finally, who do you call when you have a snake problem? They call the exterminator. I don't know if he'd ever gotten that call before. And the exterminator comes and he checks out, and he comes back to me and says, yeah, I know your problem. Your house is built on top of a snake den. And underneath their house, there are balls of snakes just intertwined with one another. And they said even the smell of it was nasty, they could tell. But they'd walk through their yard, and there would be just dozens of snakes that would go running. How awful. I have one that might be a little bit worse for you, though. I was reading about this family. I want to say it was in the Chattanooga area, Brad, in Tennessee. And of all types of creatures in all places, they had a rattlesnake climb up through their toilet. Now, that'll make you think twice the next time you go to the bathroom, right? Yeah. And so they had this, people look into it. What's going on here? Well, it turns out they had a rattlesnake den underneath it. And one of these snakes had come into there. You wouldn't expect that to happen, would you? But sometimes it does. You just have to keep your eyes open. You never know when you're going to encounter one of these dangerous serpents. Satan gets around, and he is most definitely dangerous to us. 1 Peter 5:8, we're told to be sober, serious-minded, vigilant, watchful. So keep your head screwed on, keep your eyes peeled because of the type of creature he is. The devil walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And it's fitting to be serious-minded and to keep a watchful eye in the comparison of he's a devourous lion, but also I ask you to consider these statements that are made relative to the other comparison that's made, because he is a snake. How does a snake take care of its prey? How does it eat it? You ever seen the snake get out its serrated knife and its fork, and with each hand just cut it into little pieces? How does a snake take care of its prey? All the time, a snake swallows its prey whole. Parents, grandparents, the next time you're at the dinner table and the kids are there and they take a whole Twinkie, it's after dinner, they've eaten their food well, a whole Twinkie, and put that in their mouths. Are you going to say, Hercules, Hercules? Are you proud of them? Oh, no. You're going to say, you barbarian, quit devouring your food. Well, you don't eat food like that. You see, if you're swallowing something whole, you're truly devouring your food. And how fitting, we're told that the devil, our enemy, goes about seeking whom, not just whom he may take and cut up into little pieces and enjoy with a little salt on top, but to consume whole. And don't underestimate the ability of a snake and the size of a prey that it can swallow whole. I'm going to take down to southeastern United States. Okay, now this is not an image. This is a picture. There's a difference between an image and a picture. An image is manipulated. All right, maybe you want to enhance something. Maybe you just want to just create whatever you want to create. A picture is just raw, untouched, and it's developed. This is a picture right here. This is a picture of a Burmese python. They now infest the southern portion of Florida, about the middle of the state, and especially down into the Everglades. Can you tell what creature this is? This is a white-tailed deer that's being swallowed whole. Is that not insane? I have one, though, that might be better. I will state about the Burmese pythons in Florida. They have devastated the animal population in Florida. The Conservation Department estimates raccoons are at an above 99% decrease over the last 20 years. Rabbits, foxes, yeah, even deer. I'm going to guess probably also the domestic dog and cat population has taken a hit. It's insane what's going on down there. Unhinge their jaws, use the rest of their body just to shovel it all in. And yes, they can eat people, as you can probably guess. So here's a giant Burmese python that is bisected, and look at what it was found inside of its entire body. An alligator larger than itself, or at least in girth, and just about as long as itself. I've seen pictures of these snakes that have died exploding trying to eat something bigger than itself, an enormous alligator. That's Satan. He's a snake. He loves to devour his prey. He doesn't want to just cut you up into little teeny tiny pieces. He wants to swallow you whole after he kills you. I would say he's a lot like a Burmese python down in Florida in that respect, but maybe a little more so like the most feared, greatest in size anyway, and potentially one of the most dangerous, not because of venom, but because of its powerful muscles, the anaconda of South America. That's what it is that's coming after you, that's taken an interest in you. Now, you may think, yeah, but I can handle whatever comes my way. Oh, a lot of people have thought that about snakes. I want to go to our passage of Isaiah 40, verse 30. Even the youths shall faint and be weary in this animal battle that's occurring, and the young men shall utterly fall. What he's saying is even the strongest among us cannot face this predator alone. I've seen a lot of people trying to do it, not in person so much as on TV shows. I've seen these big, strong guys in the prime of their lives, and they're used to messing with snakes. Oh, cool, 18-foot python. And they want to go take that on by themselves. They'll go grab this python, and they'll get to playing around with it, and for the first 5 minutes, they're doing pretty well, holding their own. And then after 10 minutes, the python starts to coil up and around. They can't hardly pry it off their arms. Then it will go around their torso. And then the python will work its way up around their neck, and I've seen them after about 15 minutes, they're losing their strength. They've lost their foothold, and they don't know what to do next. They need help, someone to come in, and it becomes a life or death situation. There are instances of people with their own pets as snakes that have turned on them, and I guess they got hungry and smelled something they liked. And they've had to take a knife or scissors and just stab the snake or even cut off its head just to survive the experience. You may think you're strong enough. And in the beginning, you might be able to hold your own a little bit, but you're going to get weakened by that snake that's just a big ball of muscle, and it doesn't seem to grow tired, and you're going to need some help to overcome this creature. But you have a challenge that's been put in front of you, and I hope if not before, you recognize it now. Ephesians 6, 11 and 12, we're told to stand against the wiles, those are the schemings, the plottings of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. It's something so far beyond this realm. It's a power that we don't fully understand. If you'll allow me one more comparison, snake-wise, I know I've done a lot of constrictor stuff here, but let's switch over to the venomous side of things. I would say the devil reminds me a lot of a black mamba. The black mamba gets its name not from its dark-colored back. You look at it and say, well, it's kind of got some shade of black. I could see that. No, that's not why it's named that. It's named because right before it bites you, it opens its mouth, and you see something similar to the cottonmouth in our neck of the woods. The cottonmouth, like cotton, is bright white. That's why it's named. Black mamba is named because it opens up its mouth, and you see a whole lot of black. The opposite. Yeah, there's a little bit of white mixed in undertone-wise, but there's black inside of that mouth. This is black as sin, and it's just about as dangerous as sin also. Most snakes, you'll stumble across them, and you'll scare them off. This one's different. It's a long, venomous snake. It's highly territorial, and it's very aggressive. I was watching a show about a guy in an African village, a very poor man, and he knew there was this old, rundown shack where people used to stay. And he thought, well, I'll go over into this shack and see if I can find some odds and ends, pots and pans that I might be able to use. He opens up the door, able to pry it open, and just as soon as he does, he observes a giant, biggest one he's ever seen, black mamba staring him right in the face. He's a smart guy. He turns around and he takes off running as fast as he can. The snake takes off as fast as it can after him. That snake chased him for what I believe was something like 1,000 feet before it stopped. Black mambas are known to kind of scope out their prey a little bit. They might even hunt in teams. They're kind of a mess, the black mambas are. Well, that's the opponent that we're facing. He plots. He eyes us. He scopes us out. And we turn around and run, and he's excited. He takes off, and he chases after us. But unlike the black mamba, he doesn't stop chasing us off on the ground. That's why we need to change the battlefield when we fight against him. God has said, I have created you to be like eagles, to wait upon, to look upon me, to spread your wings, and to take the fight to above. That's the way that I made you. When we lift the enemy into the air, that's when the whole battle begins to change. I ask you to notice in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 26, God says, I want you to lift up your eyes on high and see who has created these things. Now, we need to identify from the passage, what are these things to which he's referring? We'll see if we can get some context clues. He brings out, up high, he brings out their host by number. He calls them all by name. By the greatness of his might and the strength of his power, have you not known? Have you not heard? What he's saying is, as you're struggling in the fight that's taking place here, stop looking and fighting on the ground, look up above and take your fight to the air. And here's something that might help you. Look at the hosts or the multitudes that you see above you. What do you think he's talking about there, who created all these things? He's talking about what's found in the sky above us, the brilliant lights that are located there. From the dawn of humanity, people have been mesmerized by the lights of the sky. All the ancient cultures, even to our present, whether it's the big ones, the sun and the moon, or in the night sky, the stars themselves. That's what tends to get the most observation, the stars. Our family, we've enjoyed so much. This isn't my shot right here, but these are shots from others that have been taken, and I've seen these myself and taken. If you're ever at our house, bless you, and you want to see the brilliance of the night sky with the technology that we possess today, let me know. I love to do this. It's incredible to look at the stars of the sky. They're differing sizes, differing shapes. One's found in the form of a cross. Look at that first column in the second row. This is a little what maybe the Bible would describe as a wheel in the middle of a wheel. They're all different, the pulsating energy that goes through them. Here's a real close-up of a star. We are spoiled to live in the time where we exist, aren't we? To be able to understand so much more clearly, at least to see the lights of the sky. And here's why I think this is so important, and the Bible really emphasizes this. You look at these, even through the naked eye, I mean, you can pick up some of these things, the different wave energies going through them and the sizes and so on. But with the technology we have today, there is no way that you can behold the lights of the sky, whether it's at night, the smaller ones, or through the day and the bigger ones. No way you can observe that and walk away and say, this place made itself. You know that something so intelligent and so powerful had to have put this brilliant light show that we see every day, all day, night or day, on in a circular pattern over and over and over again. How incredible it is. And that's the point. God has made the light show in the sky that he has to draw humanity's interest, to walk away with the conclusion with, wow, someone had to have made that. And whoever did must be really smart and really powerful. And that means something for you and me. We just sang it in the song, essentially verbatim these words. Isaiah 40, verse 28. The everlasting God, the Lord, this is just continuing where we were reading. The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. God has put all of this up there to lead us to this simple, irresistible conclusion. God is powerful and smart. And that helps us because we're fighting a battle that we're not smart enough to win. We're fighting a battle that we're not strong enough to win. And to see His power through His creation in the sky is a constant reminder of the power and of the smarts that we need to be victorious in this encounter. He provides us on the ground with everything we need. Returning to Ephesians 6, this time verses 14 through 17, we're told, "Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts or arrows of the wicked one. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God." God gives you everything that you need for defense and for offense. But sometimes in the armor and the weaponry of God's soldier, this gets overlooked. Right after this in verse 18, he says, "Make sure that you are praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints." Did you catch all those superlatives? Meaning to the greatest degree. Always praying with all prayer and supplication, being watchful with all supplication. Think God wants us praying some? What's the key to being victorious in this battle? It's not simply what we do on this ground. It's taking the fight to the sky. Because it's when we take the fight to the sky that we receive divine empowerment to take care of our enemy. I ask you to think about what Jesus did to win the victory over the serpent. In his own words, the 12th chapter of John, verses 31 and 32, he says, "Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be cast out." You might have in your translation, Revelation 12 will speak of his being cast down or thrown down. Well, you have to take him up before you throw him down, or he has to at least be up. Verse 32, "And if I am lifted up from the earth, I will draw all peoples to myself." Some believe he's referring here to his resurrection. I have no doubt that his resurrection has a part of this. But if you go on and you read in verse 33, you'll find this. "This he spoke, signifying by what death he would glorify God." He's not talking about his resurrection here, even though that happens. He's talking about his death. And so I ask you, in his stating in his own words, I'm going to throw the serpent down or let him drop to kill him, to take care of him, to destroy him. But he says if that's going to happen and I'm going to bring my people to myself to be victorious, I first have to go up. I have to be lifted up. That's not the resurrection. That's not the ascension. That's his death. And what my inquiry would be is precisely this. What is it that makes the cross of Christ so powerful? Obviously, you have the redemptive and the sacrificial work that takes place. But I'm going to suggest to you, by what Jesus states in part, the power of the cross, a portion of it, is that when he leaves the ground and being hoisted up, it brings him closer to heaven, where true power is found. God is so powerful, and he's so intelligent. Isaiah 40, and here's what it means for us. Verse 29. "He gives his power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increases strength." And there's a way that you and I get that. Verse 26, "Lift up your eyes on high." Verse 31, "Those who wait," that is, trust in, depend on, put their confidence in the Lord, and we do that through prayer. But what exactly is it that makes prayer so powerful? The same thing that makes the cross of Christ, in part, so powerful. Because when we pray, we stop fighting on the ground. We lift our battle, we change the battleground, we lift our fight to the sky, and the power comes in drawing closer to heaven, where true strength is found. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 and 11. Finally, my brethren, be strong. Notice where all this power comes from in this fight, even if it's on the ground. Therefore, finally, my brethren, be strong in the location of the Lord and in the power of His might. Put on the whole armor, not of you, but of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Do you understand? You can't do it on your own. I can't do it on my own. I need to take the fight to the sky. You need to take the fight to the sky to find power. Verse 13, therefore take up the whole armor, not your armor, but the armor of God, that you may be able, you're not able without it, to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. And we close where we started, in Isaiah 40, verse 31. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. You are always going to run out of strength. I will always eventually faint. I may think that I'm strong enough to tangle with that serpent and I can beat anything and anyone, but I'm wrong. I can't do it on my own. And neither can you. I've seen some of the strongest people in the world think that, and after only 15, 30 minutes, they're in a losing battle and they need help just to survive. We all need help to get through this encounter. We can't fight this battle on the ground and win it ourselves. We have to take our fight to the sky. Do you feel like you've had the life choked out of you? Like you've been trying to battle this on your own on the ground, but you just can't break through? Take your fight today. Get back to taking your fight to the sky, because those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. You can pick up that serpent by the power and the strength of your God. No matter how heavy he is, you can drop him from the sky. You can swoop down and pick him up again if you need to. Drop him from the sky. Go back down right after it. Pick him up, drop him from the sky. And he can't handle that. The strength of God is too much for him to overcome. God hasn't made you to fight the battle like a man or a woman on the ground. He's made you to fight this battle like an eagle in the sky. You can make your call upon the strength of heaven to empower you, even if you've never done it before. I ask you to reconsider a passage I know you know well. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 21. Baptism is pretty important. It now saves you, okay? But there's more to it than that. It's because in that salvation process, that strength that you're given from above, you are making through your actions based on what God has told you an appeal to Him for a good conscience. And you're crying out from the strength of heaven to empower you. And then you begin to understand, wait a minute, I'm made more to be like a human who fights on the ground. I've been made to be like an eagle that takes the battle to the sky. And when you take the serpent to the sky, there's no way he can defeat you. You have rendered him powerless. You're about to harm him, and eventually you, by the power of your God, will destroy him. God hasn't made you to fight like a man or a woman. He's made you to fight like an eagle. And if that serpent has a hold of you, it's squeezing you tightly and you can't hardly breathe, it's your time to make your appeal for help. Lift up your eyes on high. Wait upon the Lord. As his child, ask him to intervene. If you've never called upon him, it's your opportunity to respond in obedience to what he's told you to do, not only for your soul to be saved, but also to destroy that evil influence in your life. And when you're baptized for your salvation, you make your call for heaven to intervene and for God to recreate you as the eagle he looks upon you to be. Don't fight this battle alone. Come fight as the creature that he intends for you to be as we stand and sing together.